to talk about Forza Motorsport 7. I played a little bit of this on the Patreon Drive stream. Played about 30, 35 minutes of it or whatever.
I saw you racing the semi trucks.
Yeah. I enjoyed the time I spent with it on the stream. Came back, recuperated from the stream, fired it back up, and did not have as much fun with it after that. It's not that I wasn't having fun or it's not a polished game. It is. And I was having a good amount of entertainment from it, but after I got about halfway through the single player, I just lost all interest, Matt. There's nothing that separates, and look, I'm sure there are people who are buying Xbox One X who will vehemently disagree with me when they play it in 4K, but as someone who is playing it in 1080p, I struggled to find any reason to recommend people to buy this if they had the Forza 6, which you can probably buy now for like $18 or whatever.
Yeah, with all the DLC or whatever.
Right. And it's, I mean, I will say they do, Turn 10 does try here and there to mix things up and change the formula. Like there's like some little like mini game stuff, like there's like these bowling races. Did you ever play that in any Forza games before?
Not that I remember. That's a new one on me.
Yeah, so they're like they set up like these bowling pins around a track. They're not actually bowling pins. They're like I don't even know what you call them, just like these rubber things that stand up, but they're put in a triangular shape like bowling pins.
Maybe there was something like that on the Top Gear tracks in 6 or 5 or 6.
That's what was they say. This is the Top Gear, whatever, bowling something or other.
Yeah, maybe there was something like that back then. It's been a while. I mean, I'll be honest, the Horizon games stick in my head way better than the normal Forza games.
That was my whole purpose of this discussion is go buy Forza Horizon 3. At this point, the Horizon franchise has completely transcended Forza Motorsport. After playing Horizon, this game just seems bereft of any excitement whatsoever. And I think that might be a good way to describe the Forza Motorsport franchise in general, is bereft of excitement.
See, I wouldn't agree with that at all.
Really?
Because I love the Forza games. And, as a matter of fact, I have every Forza game, and the Collector's Edition and VIP Edition of every single one of them were available, when they started doing that, all the way back to the original Xbox. And I skipped this game.
And why did you skip it?
I skipped it because, A, it looked, like you're saying, it looked like there wasn't really any movement in terms of what you're doing or the way the game presents anything or plays anything outside of, hey, if you have an Xbox One X, this is going to look amazing. Like, it's a visual tour de force, but, like, they all are. They've always been that. The Forza games are always like that. Forza Horizon 3 is that on my PC. I mean, they're very pretty games. That's not a new feature when you think about it. But because, like, as someone who finds the panic over loot boxes to be a little overblown, I think what they're doing with this game in the loot boxes is beyond
not acceptable. The loot boxes are definitely
down to the point that the VIP access has always been sort of the collector's edition version of things, and it's always been like a bonus to credits and XP, and you get some free cars and while they did change it after the community outcry, the VIP for at launch was you get a bunch of consumable stuff and then that's it. Yeah, it was not a permanent bonus, which they have changed.
Now they gave freaked out and
they gave everyone a million credits and they're going to change it and make it a permanent bonus. Okay, great, but like that wasn't in place when pre-order time was happening, and I decided I'm not going to do this. And so this will be this is the first Forza I have passed on in the entire series.
The loot boxes are definitely a problem because this game is a grind.
Yeah. And the grind, it feels like, and watching a couple of we weren't Let's Plays, but there were streams of people playing, and you could see the grind was worse than other Forzas have been. And frankly, I feel like if I need to play Forza, I will just put 6 in.
Yeah,
and play that.
That is absolutely the right tactic to use. The other thing I would say about this game, and look, you can adjust the AI before every race. So if you feel like it's too easy, you can bump it up before. In every race, you can adjust it. So it can be on a case-by-case basis on what you do. But generally, like, I try to keep it in the middle because that's how we generally evaluate games. And here's typically how a race plays out for me. Either I finish in first by half a lap, or you're just mired in the back of the pack and you finish like 10th or 11th. There's no happy medium. Like when when you're racing head to head, let's say you're towards the last lap of a race and you're in third, you've managed to fight your way up through the pack and to get in the third. That's when you can see how good the game is, because that's when you can really see the AI of the computer. And
it's always been the strength of Forza is the AI, as opposed to sort of Gran Turismo had sort of just.
This is where I'm driving,
bots.
And if you get in my way, I'm going to plow you out of the way. That's Gran Turismo. Maybe the new one isn't that way, but that's what they've been in the past.
See, the thing about that is, because look, I'm a giant Forza fan. I think Turn 10 does really good stuff. I've always found Gran Turismo to be kind of sterile and dull, but I think
Forza's that way too, though.
When Forza has traditionally been much more about the love of the car and
I agree with
the love of that. Like
but the
gets that.
though, there's just all
It's
this
better
weird
than it's always been.
time.
It's always been better than Gran Turismo's blank white screens.
Yeah.
But I make the comparison between Gran Turismo and Forza to add weight to what I'm going to say here, which is GT Sport comes out next year and doesn't have any of this loot box bullshit.
Comes out this year.
Is it this year?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's right around the corner then.
It is, yeah.
And doesn't have any of this loot box bullshit in it.
The loot boxes, anyway, going back to my...
So as someone who has never, ever said GT over Forza, I feel like GT's over Forza on this one because GT is treating you better.
I don't know if I would go that far, but I will say that the game, what I was getting at is that the races can be really close. And you can spend real money, essentially, to make the races not close. Now, that's for single player, which you talk about Shadow of War. We're kind of okay with single player stuff.
But part of the other thing is, like, the thing they're doing...
It's dirty, though.
But the thing they're doing that in Shadow of War with is a new element of the game, whereas you didn't need to do that in previous Forzas.
Right.
Like, to me, it's the monetization of features that have already been part of the series. That's where things like this start to make me feel like dirty about it.
No, it's dirty. Like, as I'm playing the game, and I will go and I'll look at like what I can pay money for, and you want to buy it. That's the point. When you look at the stuff, do you want to buy it or you do not want to buy it as a reasonable player? Not someone who's just filthy rich and just throws money, doesn't care. Somebody who is thoughtful about whether they spend money on microtransactions. I play this game and I look at the loot boxes and what you get for them, and I'm like, I really wish I were rich so I could pay for that. Seriously. Because that's how the game kind of grinds on you. You're like, I wish I could just be a little bit better and have a little bit better of a car than what they're giving me, and that's essentially what they're offering for you to pay for.
You wish you were a baller. You wish you were a little
bit taller. Yeah. But seriously, like, usually I look at loot boxes and I'm like, I don't care. I don't want a hat, or I don't want a shader or whatever. Or
even of previous Forzas where it's like, I don't need car tokens. I got plenty of cars.
Yeah, exactly. And in this one, what they're offering you're like, yeah, if I had disposable income, I would buy that. And they're going to make a lot of money off of it. That's the sad part. Because there are plenty of people out there who do have money to burn and are more than happy to spend it. And I think that's the problem.
Right. It's like, because previously you have been able to pay real money for car tokens to buy stuff. And I've never felt the need, even thought about buying any of that.
You pretty much get a new car constantly, with every race almost.
And if you're VIP, you get a bunch of good stuff to start with.
Credits, a car,
and you do the wheel spin stuff, and that. I don't remember if that's in regular Forza. That was in Horizon.
I haven't seen it in 7 yet.
But like, I felt like they're pretty generous with different, and also different types of cars. So it's like it's never like you have to spend, you really even spend in-game credits to get a car that qualifies you for a certain type of race. You in the previous ones you didn't really have to do that. You'd have to buy that. Like, say you'd have to. I mean, you get like an off-road car or a specific like 4-wheel drive car, whatever. Like you'd have one after playing certain circuits and certain races. You'd be able to enter that next tournament or whatever. And maybe you'd have to spend credits to get the one you want if there's a favorite car you had that you wanted specifically to get. But you would not have to spend in-game credits that you'd earned, really, just to qualify for an event.
It does do that in 7.
So that's a change then.
Yep. Like there's these like Polaris like glorified golf carts, for instance. And like I didn't have one. I needed to compete the race. I needed to spend 30,000 credits to get it. So that is something that shifts a little bit. And you can see there is a shift in the monetization strategy of this game. But I feel like maybe we're dwelling on it a little much because there is so much game here. I mean, it is a huge game with tons of tracks, tons of cars. I could not rationalize spending another 40 hours playing it. I just couldn't. I'm like, I have done all this before. I'm sure there are...
It feels like starting over again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are 20 cars in here that weren't in the last game, and there's a few tracks that weren't in the last game, so they can say it's a new game, but this really just felt like an expansion to Forza 6 to me. I would not recommend buying this game. I would recommend going and finding Forza Motorsport 6 somewhere for $30.
Or get Horizon 3 and play the Hot Wheels expansion, because that's the most fun I've had.
So far, Forza Horizon 3 for me is my favorite driving game of this generation. And I'm sure you can probably find that for 30 or 40 bucks at this point. I feel like Forza Motorsport 7 is a technical showcase for Xbox One X. That's what it really feels like to me. Microsoft knows people are going to buy it because it was the game that they marketed the X with. Everybody knows it runs in native 4K. They're going to sell a ton of this game no matter what. But if you're not getting the X and you just own an Xbox and you're looking for your next driving sim, I just say buy the old game. And to your point about presentation being sterile and GT, I feel like this game is like this too. There's just all these awkward pauses where they stay on a screen of just a driver standing there too long. The load times are terrible. Like, you load a race, and like you have to wait for the start button to become active for the race to start. And literally, sometimes you sit there for like 6 minutes waiting for a race to load up and launch the race. It's slow. It's clunky. The game looks great. Even on my base Xbox One, it does look good. It's not going to blow you away like it does on Xbox One X, I'll tell you that much. And sometimes it's hard for me to even comprehend that they're the same game. I'm like... Really? So this disc that I have in my Xbox right now, I could put this in One X and it looks that much better?
Yeah, well, look at, I mean, I booted up The Witcher 3 this week on PS4 because they put the 4K patch up. Yeah. And, like, yeah, the difference is stunning. All it takes is a little geometry and a little texture bump, and, man, there's a difference there.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's all right there. It doesn't even take that much data, you know? It's just moving that slider. Yeah, up a little higher, and to me, I mean, look, I have all 6 other Forzas and the Forza Horizons. I'm a big Forza fan, but I just can't do this one, not yet. Like, and at the very least, I have to wait and see what the reviews say about GT. Yeah, like, and I haven't. It has been Forza has been a no-brainer purchase for me for 10 years now. Every single time, I haven't bought a GT Gran Turismo game in forever. Probably not since 5, maybe some version of 5 for cheap or something. Like, and now I'm really thinking like maybe it's really time to take a look and make a real comparison. And
we also have Project Cars 2 out there, which just came out. It's getting huge reviews.
And hey, like maybe I'll just say screw all of it and wait for the Crew 2.
And that might be part of it for me. Is that maybe just driving sims aren't my thing anymore. It could just be the point where I've just played them for so many years that they've just kind of lost their allure.
That's part of it. Also, I feel like there's nothing in Forza 7, because I don't have an Xbox One X. I don't plan to get an Xbox One X. There's not really anything in Forza 7 that makes me desperately want it over just like booting up Forza 6 again.
I don't know what it could be. I think that's the problem. Like, I feel like we've just reached the apex of the law of diminishing returns for
I'm just not enough of a gearhead that the minor tweaks of 7 are going to get me $60 interested. I guess would be the way to put it.
Like I said, I got about halfway through the campaign and just quit. It got to the point where I wasn't really having fun anymore. It wasn't that it was hard or anything like that. Like, I was winning pretty much every race in first place or maybe second sometimes. Every once in a while you get that one driver that just a maniac that you're supposed to lose. And
well, also like sometimes because it's all drivatar stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I've got a couple of people on my friends list that basically seem to train their drivatars to just ram shit.
Yeah.
There's some rubbing in.
Well, the other thing too is when you play like Grand Prix, where it's like a series of races, the guy who finishes in second always finishes in second. So you win the first 3 races in first place, and if you finish like third in the last one, you don't win the circuit. I hate that. I mean, almost all driving games do that. Mario Kart does it. Whoever's in second always finishes second. So if you mess up once, you don't win first place in the circuit. This game does that as well. And the other part, too, is that it'll throw like a weird race in there. So first 3 races, maybe dry or wet, but daylight. And then like the last race is like pitch black with rain. And it's just a total toss-up. And you're like, and then you fight through it and finish third, But that guy who's been finishing second every single time finishes first, and you don't win the circuit. And you just think about it, oh, I just spent 40 minutes playing that circuit to get second place. Like, it just, after a while, it just started to wear on me. And like I said, the presentation, like just the way the whole game is snapped together, it just feels like it's just not polished. It's just clunky and slow, and the menus are laggy. And
that load time sounds like a big difference.
The load time's bad. It may be better on Xbox One X, but again, I have the launch Xbox One.
That doesn't help you.
Yeah, it doesn't help me. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess you could argue that I could buy it and play it on PC, because I have a PC that would make it look that good.
Yeah.
But, like, it just feels like I've started over so many times on these Forza games and done so many of these campaigns, and I don't see anything in 7 that makes me really want to say, yeah, I want to do that again.
Do you want to? Do you want to race go-karts around a dirt track again? Like, I didn't. I just got to the point where I'm just burnt out on it.
Yeah, and maybe I'm just out of the sim mentality right now, because if I was going to do a driving game, I'd probably just load Horizon 3 up again.
Yep. That's what I recommend. Or buying the game from 2 years ago, which you probably can really get for like $15, I'm guessing.
I'm sure there'll be some digital sale in this fall where you can get Forza 6 for a really good price.